this evening. The first, we have a presentation from Schneider Electric.
Good evening. I'm Elisa Watkins with Schneider Electric. I think most of you know me. There's a few new faces. I wanted to come tonight to talk to you about the energy project that we had started. We actually signed the contract last September, and then we began implementing and mobilizing by October 8th of year before last. So it was expected to be about a 20 to 22 month construction period, and then we were also hit by the hurricane, but we pulled it off and still got it together on time and helped you at the school district to get these schools dried out and to be able to continue moving forward at the business of educating our children. I'm excited to share with you tonight, we brought one of our, the checks. So what Brunswick County Schools is going to save over the term of our project is $305,800. So, and that funded the $16.9 million project. And in that project, we were able to do every school LED, interior and exterior. It's made a tremendous difference in those classrooms. We're hearing that from teachers all over. We were able to do water conservation and building envelope in the entire district and some of the other buildings as well. We touched every school and we touched every facility in the county, which is major. In part of that, we also were able to help the school district retain a little over $44,000 rebate from Duke Progress for energy savings as well on some of the items that we were implementing on the schools that were in their territory. We replaced 8 different transformers throughout the district. We addressed your humidity issues. You have a single window into controls now, which has made the operations division very effective at being able to troubleshoot ahead of time instead of having to drive to the school, see what's wrong, come back, get the parts, and then go back and fix it. So it's making everything much more functional. So the operations department is really being able to gain some productivity. The entire district got PC power management on over 3,200 computers. We did plug load control. We did fuel switching. We helped you do some rate changes. So we are excited to tell you that we have a 34% reduction in your spend, in your cost, and you've got a 33% reduction in your BTUs that you're saving. So Brunswick County taxpayers, Brunswick County students, and everybody benefits from you taking the money that the utility was already paid. We were already paying the utility company, and you took that money and reallocated it, and we put it back into all the schools. During the construction period, we actually saved over $1 million in construction savings. So we were estimating around $880,000, and it was higher than that when we met with Sue last week and went over the numbers. We had a real significant savings in one of the big water lines that was oversized many, many, many years ago and nobody knew about it, which was neat that we were able to find that for you. We had schools that were operating at $2.35 a square foot, which is outrageous, and now we've got those schools more in line the best we can. We took Southport Elementary, which was an all-electric school, and we got that switched over to gas. We have many of your schools that are being able to do dual switch on fuels, so they're not so dependent on one fuel. So if another one's doing better, you have the opportunity that you can switch that boiler to whatever fuel is best and used at that time. We helped you get natural gas at some of the schools. It was very close, and we had to meet with them and help you get some of that. Some of those weren't as successful as we wanted, but we were trying the best we could with the other entity to get that done. We did walk-in freezer cooler controls. We noticed that there were some issues there, so we're not going to be losing food. Hurricane's a prime example. Now we got controls on them. We can tell what's going on with those. And I mean, we did, and you've got the single window into everything. We did have the challenge of the hurricane, but I'm excited to say we worked real hard together. We pulled our subs in to help the operations group to get these schools back where they should be. So very excited to show you this check tonight. This will be over the 17-year project. You are reaping more than what we anticipated, so we're really excited about that. So we wanted to share that with you, and I didn't know if anyone had any questions that you may want to ask. Since the project has come to completion, we're still doing punch list items So we're at substantial completion. And we've done a few other little changes that were helping the savings. Is there anything that anybody would like to ask me?
How many schools do we have natural gas in?
You had 19 schools and 21 facilities affected by all this.
Yeah, but how much?
Oh, natural gas, we had five. It's 8 now?
I'd say somewhere between 8 and 10.
Yeah, so you didn't have many before.
No,
No, so it was significant conversations going on.
And that's growing throughout the county, so as it
Yeah.
continues to grow, we can
Yes,
continue to hook schools onto it.
Yeah, we're doing this, one of the most interesting things for me was, well, we're off of heating oil.
yeah, you're off of number 2 oil.
So we've got propane, where we could not get natural gas. We were already buying propane, and we had bid, propane per gallon. But, there was a state contract price for propane, which we didn't know about. They did way cheaper than what we were paying. So, a lot, Duke Power, comes to us every year. Duke's good. And they come and they go, we think you should be on this rate instead of this rate. They go through all that with us. But one thing that we didn't know until we started this is we can opt out of 8% of your bill fee every month, and which you pay so that you're eligible for energy incentives. So that $44,000 we got back from Duke. Well, now that we have gotten those back, we don't see any more kind of low-hanging fruit on the horizon, then we should not be paying that 8%. So if you've got a meter that's over 1 million kilowatts, you can opt out of that. And so by doing that, we're saving about another roughly $65,000 a year. So energy management, the good thing about doing this with them, there's always a lot of discussion about whether you should do a guaranteed energy savings contract or not. But just the expert, we married now for 17 years. And so having a partner who's, making sure that we make it and making sure that they make it, we're learning a lot. So it's been good.
So from now, we just met last week, I think, with your STEM coordinator and with Mr. Seaman here. We met with them to try to see what we can do for the children as far as doing Conserve My Planet. So Schneider Electric has a program, and we're going to bring it here. It's called Conserve My Planet. So it teaches the K through 3 about saving and having conservation. So we'll do some kind of science nights at the different elementaries. So we met with them and Sue a couple weeks ago to see what we can do to help with that now, because we want to take it into the classroom. And I've even talked about taking the middle school and the high school, now that you have the single window of controls that can watch the equipment, is actually let's use that for a teaching environment, since you're starting to go towards the science and technology, that we can actually set that up so they can actually see a pump working, and they can see what it does if they change it. So we've been discussing that about how we can help your curriculum as far as for learning now.
I really like that you're incorporating teaching in the process. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Well, I'm a grandmother that wants to make sure they're learning. And I was hoping we could take a picture with the check, with the board, if that's okay, if there's. Sure.
Got green and green. All right, in 3, 2, 1. There's one. Hold on for one more shot. And 3, 2, and 1. Boom. There we go.
Thank y'all. If y'all have any questions, I put my card in each room, your notebooks, so you can contact me.
Thank you. Next up, we have public address by Ms. Jennifer Watkins. And I just have to tell y'all that we've already had a rendezvous today for Cow Appreciation Day at Chick-fil-A. Who knew when I went in with my mother-in-law it would be the most decorated place in Wilmington? So, anyway, welcome tonight.
My name is Jennifer Watkins. As you all know, I'm a Belleville Elementary parent and volunteer. I've been following the redistricting discussions closely, and I am here to say I'm concerned about the board's decision to wait 3 years to redistrict the elementary schools and how the education of the Belleville students will be impacted. As many of you know, I've had conversations with staff and board member. As many of you know, I'm an engineer and also have an MBA. So my engineering brain likes to separate facts from emotions. So let's review the facts. Belleville students are attending a severely overcrowded school. The National Center for Education Statistics defines severely overcrowded schools as 25% over capacity. Belleville will be at 25% over capacity for the coming school year. For the coming school year, all of 4th grade and half of 2nd grade will be in trailers. Last year, only 4th grade was in trailers, so we're moving half of a grade outside of the main school building for the upcoming year. Waiting 3 years is going to put Belleville even more severely overcrowded. By the December demographic data, we'll be at least 135% capacity if that data is correct, making it, again, even more severely overcrowded than it currently is. And if you look at the demographic study commissioned by Brunswick County Schools, there is 0 growth predicted in Town Creek and Bolivia school districts. So we are forcing all of the growth through an already overcrowded school. So what are the effects on our children's educations of attending a severely overcrowded school? I looked at the 2016 bond literature that was produced by Brunswick County Schools, and that literature states school size impacts school climate and student learning. So my question to you would be, what are those impacts? Have you looked at those? There are multiple studies out there that show that overcrowded schools have a negative impact on reading test scores. There are some that say math scores are impacted, some that say there are no impact on math scores. Some of the classrooms in use at Belleville were never intended to be regular classrooms. They were maybe resource rooms or intended for another use. That impacts classroom management when you've got students in a tight space. Can't really separate children as easily. A severely overcrowded school unnecessarily stretches a school's resources. And then let's talk about safety. Again, in the Brunswick County literature, it says modular units pose a safety risk. So in the upcoming school year, we're going to have close to 200 students in trailers that will have to be safely moved inside the building if we have a severe weather event. And we also know we live in a very crazy world, and there are other things that happen on schools that none of us would ever think could happen, but we don't know. And students will always be safer in a brick and mortar building than they will in a trailer. From my discussions with staff and the board, one thing that I've heard is there wasn't, based on the public input meetings, that there wasn't any support for the redistricting proposal. I think it's important to really think about that because the population that was represented at those meetings was a very small demographic of the entire Belleville population. It was majority parents from the neighborhood that were going to be impacted. We did not hear from parents outside. Again, when I spoke several months ago, I said, you know, think about what we heard, think about what we didn't hear. And I said then, and I'll say it again, is that we didn't hear people say there isn't any support for addressing the overcrowding at Belleville. And so we put one specific plan out there asking for input on that plan. We did not ask for input. What do parents think about the overcrowding? What are your thoughts about that? How can we address that? We didn't have that conversation. We had a specific conversation with a specific demographic of Belleville Elementary. So again, and in my conversations, I just haven't heard that conversation being had. Like, did we weigh the pros and the cons versus waiting and not waiting? And we know that we have a short-term issue with overcrowding. We also may have a long-term issue that we're gonna have to look at building a school. But in the short term, are the risks and the negatives of forcing all of the growth into one school, is all of that worth the 3-year wait? And I would like the board to look at speeding up that timeline, and if possible, doing the elementary school redistricting along with the middle school redistricting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Well, I was going to just mention that since the last time you were here, and correct me, Dr. Oates, we have a committee that are establishing a committee that's going to be doing research with parents and some other community members.
Right,
If you
there'll
want
be
to,
further input garnered from the community that should address some of your questions or concerns that you had tonight.
we hear you. Okay. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to parliamentary procedures. We have approval of the meeting agenda.
So moved.
All right. Second. All right, all in favor? Aye. And approval of the minutes from June the 4th, the regular meeting, June 18th, the Finance and HR Committee meeting, June 18th, the Operations Committee, and June 18th, Curriculum Policy Committee. Do I have a motion for approval of those minutes?
So moved.
All right, Mr. Lemon? Mr. Benton, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, and for the consent items, we have several items on consent. All right, Mr. Benton makes the
Just
motion. Mr. Miller, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, and for action items, we have the contracts for Triangle Roofing for Southport Elementary. And Ms. Rutledge comes.
Did this project and received one bid. We rebid the project, that's why it didn't go into committee. We felt like we needed to rebid it and get more competition. We did that and we got 4 bids. The low bid is $143,000 and it's within the engineer's estimate. So we're asking for board to approve that contract tonight.
Any questions?
I thought we were slated to get a metal roof there.
No, this is over the cafeteria.
Oh, it's just a cafeteria.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's got probably a 3rd-tier EPDM, which is the worst kind of membrane you can have. This had it. We're putting PVC on it. It'll last a long time. It's good roof.
Make a motion, we approve the contract with Triangle Roofing for Southport Elementary.
Second.
All right, Mr. Lemon made a motion, and Ms. Milligan a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, and discussions of superintendent?
Just one item I just wanted to bring before the board, and this is a letter that is from Mr. Christopher Cook, who is the band director at North Brunswick High School. And he wrote a letter for me to give to the board, and it just reads, "On behalf of the parents and students, we would like to thank you for allowing the North Brunswick High School Marching Band to participate in the National Independence Day Parade located in Washington, D.C. The Marching Scorps were nominated by Senator Tom Tillis to represent the state of North Carolina in that parade. There were 68 students and over 40 parents in attendance at this event. Thanks to community sponsors and fundraising, we were able to secure $30,000 for our travel expenses. Despite road and security closures, the students were able to see in person our nation's capital, federal buildings, and monuments. The parade was hot. Although we brought water for students before, during, and after the parade, it was not enough. We were very fortunate not to have any incidents of heat exhaustion. Fortunately, our conditioning before the event, which consisted of wearing sweatpants and hoodies in band practices, really helped with our endurance for this parade. I was especially proud of how many people recognized that we were from North Carolina. One person asked, "Are you all from Raleigh, Durham, or Greensboro?" To which one of my students then replied, "No, we're from Leland, North Carolina." My students were very proud to march in the parade and be a part of this national event, many of which have never traveled outside of Brunswick County. In all of my years of teaching, I've never seen so much collective joy and excitement among parents and students. And to view the pictures of our video of our trip, please visit our website at nbhsbands.org. I would like to extend a special thank you to Mr. Daniel Siemens for casting a spotlight on what we do for our students, Ms. Connie Ennis for advocating for the arts program in our county, along with Mr. Paul Price and Ms. Kimberly Brown for your continued support in helping us reach this goal. We look forward to taking the band program to a new level. Sincerely, Christopher Cook, Director of Bands, North Brunswick High School. If you saw some of the things that Daniel did put out, I think the North Brunswick High School band made CNN. They were pictured on CNN during the parade. And from what I've heard, it has been a wonderful experience for those students. And Mr. Cook is doing a phenomenal job there in North Brunswick, so I just wanted to commend him as well. That's all we have for tonight.
All right, any other? All right, without anything else, and have a motion to go to closed session? All right, Mr. Benton? Second. Ms. Milligan, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. We will